Boker Tov. Today's Shavua Tov. Today's daf is daf Samach Zayin in Mציעא. He's a parak of Neshach as we learn Parachenu Kol Beis Yisrael and Surah Matzor V'Shivya. And Baruch Hashem, we have an announcement. My son Eli Boaz had a baby boy yesterday at Shkia time. Suffolk, when the bris is going to be, it's at Shkia. So we're gonna it's gonna be an issue. I have to ask Shela Sarab. Our Gemara is talking about the case in the Mishnah. On Samachem base, we saw the Mishnah. The end of the Mishnah was the second case was again. Now this is the key. Remember, ribis d'oraisa, ribis ksutza. That's also and that's recoverable after you paid it. You paid ribit. You can go to court and claim it back. However, ribis d'rabanan, which is only a vakribis, which is usually in a case of a sale, which looks like a loan, So there, it's only a vakribis, and a vakribis is not returnable. It's usher, but it's not returnable. So the case in the Mishnah on Samachem base was where, classic case, I lent you money for a few years, and I said you gave me your field as a collateral, as a mashkam, and I said, well, if you don't give me back the money within 3 years, the field is mine. Field is mine. Again, I'm the lender, I'm the malva, and I become the purchaser. Okay, so the Mishnah said, you're right. If after 3 years you haven't paid back, I get to keep the field. Now, is that the halacha? So yesterday's Gemara said, well, this is like an asmachta. What's an asmachta? Asmachta is where it's like it's like betting, where I assume that I'm going to win, but I don't really mean it. If I lose, I don't really mean that I don't really mean to lose it, right? I don't want to lose it. So what do I do in a case like that? The question is, it's like a case where it defines it this way, like an assurance that I'm going to pay or keep something. I'm going to keep this stuff. I guarantee if you don't pay me within 3 years, I'm going to keep the field. Now I don't expect. You expect to pay me within the 3 years, so you don't really think that's going to happen, right? It's like a bet. I say I lend you the money. You say, yeah, I'm going to pay it back within 3 years. If you don't pay me with 3 years, I'm going to keep the field. Now you don't expect that you're really going to give me the field because you think you'll pay it back. That's an asmachta, but you don't really think it's going to happen. You don't really think. You say, okay, if I don't pay back within 3 years, I'll give you my field, but you really don't want it that way. That's on asmachta. Does that work or not? According to Rav Yossi, famous sheet, Rav Yossi says yes. Asmachta is kanya. That's the deal. Bet is final, and that's it. I guarantee I'm going to pay it back. If I don't pay it back, it's yours. He says, but we don't hold that way. We don't asmachta lo kanya because he didn't really mean it. Yesterday's Gemara used the lashon kol de'i lo kani. Whenever it said, if I don't pay it back, I'm going to give you the field. You own it. Doesn't really work. So what's shot on Mishnah? Our Mishnah either goes like Rav Yossi said yesterday's Gemara, or our Mishnah is talking about where he says, listen, if I don't pay you back in 3 years, the field is yours from today. That's more of it's a stronger lashon, a stronger language. If I don't pay you back within 3 years, this field is yours from today. So when you're on the field, you have the malva, the lender, comes the purchaser is on the field. He can eat the crops all those years, not a problem, right? Because the field is his from today. So the Mishnah is either interpreted that way or the Mishnah goes like Rav Yossi. But otherwise, if you don't hold like Rav Yossi, and he didn't say from today, me'achshav, you're going to get the field from today, then asmachta lo kanya. And Rav Nachman said on the end of yesterday's Gemara, Rav Nachman said, no, since asmachta lo kanya, the land goes back. In other words, even if you don't pay me back the loan within 3 years, and we agreed, if you don't pay back the loan in 3 years, I'm going to keep the field. No, I don't get the field. Asmachta lo kanya. If he didn't say from today, at the end of 3 years, I don't really keep your field. I get to give you a big field, and I have to give you back the crops also. Okay, what happens? You owe me the money, and I can still keep the field. I have the mashkin until you pay me, but I don't really own the field yet. The mashkin doesn't belong to. We'll see later on if it's a mashkin like a metalton. You gave me a stick, or you gave me some gold bullion, then it's really mine until you pay me back. But not in the case of land. Asmachta lo kanya. So he says, and therefore the land goes back and the crops. The crops go back too. Because if the crops don't go back, then it's like rebit. I've been taking more than the value of the land. That's what Rav Nachman said. Not everybody agrees. So the Gemara says, wait a minute. you were mochel me the fruits. You thought that, I'm going to keep the land. In the regular case, when I lend you money and you give me your field, it's assumed that I can eat the crops. But you were mochel that. Says Rav Nachman say, I got to return that. Mechila betos is not a mechila. We had a case where if I sold you the fruits of sold you the fruits of a tree, and the fruits didn't grow yet. So the halach is you don't acquire them. Even after they grew, you don't really get them. Rav Nachman says, right, you can go back on the deal because you didn't really sell it. And Rav Nachman said, if you took the fruits, all right, if you took the fruits already, we don't take it away from you. So you see there, mechila betos, I was mochel, but mistake. It was a mistake because you really didn't acquire the fruits. If you ate the fruits, I sold you the fruits of the tree didn't grow. And now the fruits grew after the fact. You still don't acquire them because you can't sell something which isn't here yet. You can't be makted over shalom b'olam. Rav Nachman said, if you kept it though, if you had the fruits ready, you don't take it away. So you see that even though I was mochel something by mistake because you really don't acquire it. There you say it is a mechila. That's what the Gemara has to end the kashas at the end of the daf yesterday. So the Gemara said, no, one is a sale, one is a loan. In the case of a loan, it looks more like ribit. It's not ribit though, right? So it's not where I get you $100 and I say, give me back 120. What happened over here? I lent you money. You gave me your land and I ate some fruits on the land. Okay. So when I ate the fruits on the land, it looks like rebit, right? Because, I lent you money and I'm eating your fruits. That looks like rebit. You didn't say exactly how many fruits or whatever, but it looks like rebit as opposed to a sale when I sold you the fruits of my tree that are going to grow and you really don't acquire them because they're not here yet. And even after they grew, you don't acquire them. And I could take them back. But if you ate them already, you're mochel them, right? That's a sale. Sale is different than a loan. So when it looks more like a loan, when it is a loan, effectively, like in a case where I lent you money and you gave me your land as a mashkon, that's a loan. You could see it, as we'll see. The more it looks like a sale, the better it is. Now, what do you mean more it looks like a sale? We're going to see later on. Let's say I took your land as a mashkon and I said, okay, listen, I lent you $10,000. We'll deduct $2,000 a year. I'm on the land. Okay, after 5 years, the loan is canceled. It's finished off. Is that valid or not? I'm eating the fruits. Is that okay? That's better. Why? Because it looks like a sale. What is a sale? A sale is either a permanent sale or a temporary sale, like you rent it. You lease it. What is a lease or a rental? It's a sale for a period of time. So if I lend you $10,000, I could either say, give me $2,000 back for the next 5 years. That's the way to pay it back. No rebate, no nothing. Or you give me your field and I'm on your field and I say, listen, for each of the next 5 years, I'm going to deduct $2,000. At the end of 5 years, that's it. Now, that's not rebate. Why? Because I may gain, I might lose. Maybe the crops will produce, maybe there'll be no crops for the 5 years, and that's my tough luck. Maybe I'll gain. Then it's not, that's what we call with nechais. I'm deducting. So there, it looks more like a sale. It looks more like a lease. I'm leasing the land. Why is that thing? If I lease the land for $2,000 a year for 5 years, would anybody say that's rebit? I'm leasing your land. So when I lend you money and I take the field back and I deduct for it, that's called nechais. I'm deducting each year. It looks like a sale. It looks like a lease, which is like a sale. So if it looks more like a loan, then it's a problem with rebit. So it looks more like rebit. If it's a sale, it doesn't look so much like a bit. Omerava, top of the page, some sign, today's stop. Omerava, Havi Yasivna. So Rav Nachman said that in the case of asmachta, like our Mishnah, where you didn't say you're acquiring it, I'm going to lend you the money. If you don't pay me back within 3 years, I keep the land. That's an asmachta because, you expect to pay me back. You really didn't want to give me the land. You don't expect it. I just say, you give it to me as a mashkon. But I say, I keep it after 3 years. That's not a smachta. A smachta of Nachman is not kona, not like Rabbi Yossi. So and not only does that go back, I get the land. Not only do you get your land back, but you get the fruits also. So Rabbi says I was sitting in front of Nachman, and I wanted to ask a question that. What do you mean that in the case of a sale, I'm not so makbid. I was mochel something. Yeah, I didn't really have to give it to you. Not so bad. Mechila betos is considered mechila. What about the case of Omna? We had before Omna that if I committed fraud, I cheated you by a sixth more than the regular price, the money comes back. So there you say you're not mochel. mechila b'tos is not a mechila. But Odik, and he preempted me. He saw that I was about to ask chazis and laws. He says, look, take a look at Kadmani. He voted. He saw that I had some question, and chazis and laws, and then he preempted me to show me a different time, a svara for his reasoning that mechila b'tos is mechila b'tos is considered mechila from the case of islanders. What were we talking about? It says right about Anah, the mechila b'tosi. The Noah's mechila b'tos. You were mochel. You didn't know you were paying more. You were mochel that. It's not mechila. I get the money. If I sell you something, I charge you a 6 more. The money goes back to you. So they're mechila b'tos, not mechila. But Odik, and he saw that I was about to ask, and he showed me chazisa, and he says he preempted me by showing me case of islanders. Why? All right, islanders is mechila b'tos. If you marry a woman, it turns out she's an islandess. Married her when she was a young girl. You don't realize she never developed. She's like a man. She has a deep voice, no breasts, etc., no womanly characteristics. It's a mechila, and the halacha there is that I can divorce her without giving her ksuba because I was fooled. They're mechila b'tos, and that's mechila. She doesn't get her ksuba. Normally, a woman is entitled to ksuba that was written, what the husband wrote into the ksuba, or what she brought into her dowry, and that was listed in the ksubas belonging to her. And what about if she had fields afterwards? The husband gets to keep the peiros, but he has to give it back to her when they get divorced. Any peiros that were there at the time, he doesn't get the peiros back either. The peiros, he keeps her peiros. Can I get the idea that he has to redeem her? And over here, we say below peiros. Let's say Nechasim that she got Yerusha after they got married. The Chum said he could eat the peiros, and they said in place of that if she's taken captive, he has to redeem her. And these things, even though there's no look, he can't take her back. Still he doesn't have to give her back those peiros that he ate. Why? Because it's considered mekachtos. He didn't know that she wasn't a real woman. She's not entitled to peiros mazonas. He doesn't have to give her any like alimony. Below blows and any worn out garments that she had, any worn out clothes, whatever, he doesn't have to give her that back either. So you see over here that mechila b'tos is mechila. Rav Nachman would be defending his case. Below it, the Gemara says no. Lo no avi tufta below linus messiah. The case of no, where mechila b'tos is not mechila because I sold you something for $100. I sold it to you for let's say $116. I took a 6 more, and I have to give you back the $6. So you're not mochel there. That's different, and that's not a kasha on Rav Nachman. Below islandus messiah lay. In the case of islands, is also not a proof to Rav Nachman. Lo no if they no the mochel gabe. It's different in a case where he says mechil b'tos. Mechil b'tos says I sold it to you. I really didn't have to. Give you those peiros. But if you ate them, okay, you took them anyway. It's okay. But I didn't even know that there. I knew that you ate the peiros. So I knew what was going on. In the case of no, you didn't know you were cheated. If you knew you were cheated, you wouldn't have paid me the $116. You would have just said, listen, it's only worth $100. So no, it's not a kasha nim, right? The Leota said no, he didn't know that there was fraud there. The mochel, he didn't know it to be mochel. But if he would know that and he was mochel, that's different. We learned before, even the case of no. If the guy says, listen, I know it's only worth $100, I'm willing to pay $120. There's no fraud over here. There's no mistake. Then it's okay. Below Islandus Messiah, in the case of Islandus, it's not a proof to Rav Nachman. What would be the proof to Rav Nachman? That in the case of a sale, so to speak, in case of a sale, mechila b'tos is mechila, is mechila. So it's a proof to Islandus because she's mochel everything. It's not a proof to him. Why? The nechala, the tepik lashma dishas. That's a special case there. The reason why she's mochel, the ksub and everything, is because she knows that she's not a regular woman. She's an islandess. And she's happy just that people should say her name is Mrs. Jones now. In other words, that she had a shame that she was a woman, that she was married to somebody. Maybe she'll get married to somebody else now. So because of that, she's willing to be mochel. But in a regular case, maybe mechila b'tos would not be mechila. That's as far as Rav Nachman goes. And again, Rav Nachman's talking about the case of the Mishnah where there was a loan. I lent you $100 and you gave me your field. I lent you $10,000 and you gave me your field for several years to hold on to. And I ate the peiros. What's the halacha? And we said, if you don't pay me back within 3 years, let's say $3,000, and you don't pay me back within 3 years, I get to keep the field. So the halacha is no, I don't get to keep the field unless you said I get to keep the field from today, the day that we made the loan. Otherwise, you don't get to keep the field. So Rav Nachman, not only that, I have to give you back the crops that I ate in the interim. That's what Rav Nachman said. Now the Gemara says a case like this where it wasn't really a loan; it was like a sale. But a woman told a certain man, "Be my messenger. Go buy a piece of land for me. Go buy that field from my relatives." He went and he bought it for her. Amalei, the mocher, the seller, who was a relative of the woman who sent him, the Mashaliach, listen, I'm selling it to you now because I need the money. But if I can get some money, she'll sell it back to me, right? Mahadras Lana, will she sell it back to me? Amalei, he said, so the messenger said, you, either Navla was her name or Navla is a way of calling a sibling or a family member. Listen, your family, I'm sure she'll sell it back to you. I'm sure, family, I'm sure she'll sell it back. That's what he said. Rav Arafuna, call out the Navlachi, any language like that. Oh, you and Navla, your family, Samcha Daite, he depends on that. He doesn't really want to sell it because that's like an asmachta. You know what? I'm not so sure. I'll tell you, when he said, oh, don't worry about it. Like you say, did he get it in writing? Was it a real sale without any time? No. He depended on it. He says, oh, I'll sell it to you, but she'll sell it back to me, right? If I can raise the money later on. Didn't really, different ways to understand this. The Rishonim, the grubbings on different Rishonim, how to learn this. But the Pashup Shot is that he depends on that, and he depends on that condition. Will she sell it back to me? And maybe she won't. And therefore, he didn't really sell it to him. And, he says, I'm only selling it on the condition that she'll sell it back to me. If she wouldn't sell it back to me, it's not a condition. Therefore, Arahadra, it's not really a sale. The land goes back. What about pay? What about any crops that she ate? The one who bought it, would that be returnable as well? Again, is this a sale or is it a loan? See, if I give you money and you give me a field, is it a loan, a mashkan, or is the mashkan really like a sale? Same thing over here. The messenger paid this guy for the field on her behalf. And he said, listen, I'm going to get it back, right? Well, if you're going to get it back, then what happens effectively is the money is a loan, right? The money's a loan, and the land is like collateral. Okay, so how do you look at it? So he says, well, the field would go back. What about the crops? It's clear. Is this like ribis ksutza? It's not really fixed ribis exactly how much, but it's like ribis ksutza and it's recoverable. It's really like ribis drabanan, like the dust of ribis. And it's not real ribis, and therefore maybe it would not be, as we said before. Real ribis is recoverable in court. It's reclaimable. This is not. It's not really ribit deraisa, right? Because he didn't really specify an amount. And it's like a vak ribit. In other words, because again, she thought it was a sale. He said, well, it's only if you're going to sell it back to me. So it's not really a sale. So it was like the messenger gave her money to this relative as a loan, and he gave him back the land meanwhile. So any crops that she ate would be like ribis drabanan, and therefore it's not recoverable. It's not recoverable. What if it was a clear mashkanta? It wasn't in the form of a sale at all. This was like a sale, right? Like a sale. Like, if I don't give it to you, that's like a sale. He went actually to buy the field. That was like the case of a mocher peres deka, where it was actually a sale. Over here it was done, a mashkanta means it's a loan. What does mashkanta mean? Collateral for a loan, a mortgage, right? The bank gives you a loan for your house. I give you a loan of $3,000, and we say, and then you give me your field. So what a case of mashkanta? Meaning, I gave you $3,000. You gave me your field, and I ate the crops for the 3 years. What do you say there? Do you say over there it's only ribis drabanan? Over there we said the reason why it's not recoverable, it's not reclaimable, I should say. It's not reclaimable in court afterwards because it's only ribis drabanan. Here it's also not a fixed amount. You're eating crops. You don't know how much it is. There it's a sale. And in the case where the lady sent this man to buy the field from her relative, it was a sale. So a sale, okay, it's only ribis drabanan, even though the sale could be construed as being a loan because he wants the field back afterwards. So it could be, but it still was a sale. So a sale it's only a vak ribis, it's not reclaimable. Again, it would be usher to do on purpose because, maybe it's like even ribis rabbanan is usher. What you should do in all those cases is take all the crops and put them in escrow. But if he ate the crops, okay, it's ribis, it's a vak ribis, it's not reclaimable. The question is reclaimable. But over here was in the form of a loan. In the form of a loan, it's more like it's not really ribis d'oraisa because he didn't say a fixed amount, but it's like ribis d'oraisa, and it should be recoverable, reclaimable. No, here's also it's not a fixed amount, therefore it's not recoverable. And Rashi says in the second third of the wide lines, and this disagrees with Rav Nachman, because Rav Nachman said in the case of our Mishnah, what was the case of Mishnah again? I'm lending you $3,000, and we agree that if you don't pay me back within 3 years, the field is mine. That was also a loan, right? A loan. It was a loan. And we said over there, Rav Nachman says, no, you can't keep the field after 3 years. It's a smachta lokanya. It's a loan. I have to give you back the field eventually. In other words, I can keep the mashka until you pay me back. But after 3 years, if you didn't pay me back, it doesn't automatically become mine. And Rav Nachman said, the crops are also recoverable. I can't keep the crops. What are you asking? Huh? It's like an asmachta, yeah. In the case, it's different than a case of asmachta. It's where I say, if you don't pay me back, the field is mine. That's like you don't really expect it to happen. Like you're betting, you're betting that you're going to pay me back the field. You're going to give me back the money, but you're not really, But in the end, you don't pay me back. The question is, you don't pay me back. Did you really mean it? I'm really going to get the field? No. Asmachta lo kanya, says Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman says not only don't I get to keep the field, but I have to give you back the payers too. Here he said, this is a loan. He says, mashkanta mai. And he says, well, if it's mashkanta, again, we didn't say I'm going to keep the field. I just said, I'm lending you $3,000 and I ate the crops, right? And I ate the crops and eventually I have to give you back the land because it was only a mashkan. I don't really keep it. What about the crops? He says also, you don't have to return, I have to return the field. Do I have to return the crops? He says, no. You don't have to return the crops. It's like a sale. You didn't really need to return the crops. That disagrees with Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman said that I got to return the crops too, even though it's only like ribis rabbanan. And why is ribis rabbanan? Because it's not a fixed amount, but it's still a loan. In the case of a loan, it looks more like a loan, right? Because it was a loan. I lent you money, and we agreed that if you don't pay me back within 3 years, I get to keep the field. So I don't get to keep the field because it's a smachta. I got to give you back the field. What about the crops? The crops I got to give you back too, says Rav Nachman, because it looks more like ribis ketutza. Now, Omer Papi says, Avid Ravina of the Ravina Paskin in a real case, and he calculated the amount of the crops. Ba'apik payre, and he took out the pay. So look, Rav Avuna. Rav Avuna said before, Mistab, it's only like a vak ribis in a case of a sale, when she sent him to buy the field from a relative. And he said, well, okay, if she ate the crops, it's like a vak ribis, it's not recoverable. Rav Papi said it was recoverable. He went like Rav Nachman. And it was a case even of a sale. And he said, you can recover the crops also after you ate the crops, it's recoverable because it's like rebid. Now we're going to talk about a case like this. The custom was where I lent you money and you let me have your field as a mashkan. Let's say it was 3 years, mashkan for 3 years. And but let's say you come up with the money. This is a question we have even in modern commerce also. Can you repay your mortgage early? A lot of banks don't like that because they like to keep the interest. So there were certain cities where this custom was that when the lova would come up with the money, he could remove the malva from the field, he could pay it off. Okay. Now he says like this: I'm mashkanta. Listen to this case. Omar Mar Breder Rabbi Yosef. We're about 12 lines from the bottom of the page. Mishmei Rabba. I'm mashkanta. This mashkan, right? Again, I gave you $3,000. You gave me your field, and I'm eating the crops on your field. I'm entitled to do that. It's I have your field. Again, it's not ribis d'oraisa for sure because it's not a fixed amount. I'm mashkanta b'asra masalke in a city where the custom is that you can remove me anytime you want by paying off the loan. Let's say I ate the amount of crops that I ate after 6 months. I ate 3 years. I ate enough crops that would have paid off the whole loan. Understand? I lent $3,000, and you gave me the field as a mashkan, and after 6 months I ate $3,000 worth of crops. What do you say there? He's a masal kinala. You can push me off. You can say, listen, you got your $3,000 back. Let's say I ate $4,000 worth after 6 months. So the extra amount is like rebit. You can't get that out of me. Why? Also, you can't say, well, you'll apply that to some other loan that I have. I have another loan against you. I lend you money several times. Can't apply it. No. Why? Because it's ribis rabbanan. It's a vak ribis. So you can't take. You could remove me from the land. You could say, listen, you've already eaten $3,000. But if I ate more than that, it's only a vak ribis. Uvidiyasmi. Let's say it was the yisomim. Let's say the field belonged to yisomim. All right. Again, if I ate $3,000 worth, you could remove me. If the field belonged to Yisomim, I lent the money to Yisomim, to young orphans, and I ate in their field, then I ate $4,000. You can take that back too. You can even get that back off. That's recoverable. Who said this? Mar Bereid Rav Yosef Ishmei the Rav. That's what Rav said. For Yisomim also, if let's say it was $4,000, you could apply that money to pay off another star. In other words, you do something in the favor of the Yisomim. Rav Ashi differs. It should really say Rav Ashi Omer, but he says Omer Rav Ashi Hashem Achol Tzvei. He says no. Once you say Achol Tzvei Lo Mafkinin, once you say that if I ate $4,000 worth, the loan was only $3,000 and it was for 3 years, but you can pay me off in the middle and kick me off. So you could say, listen, you've already eaten $3,000. Get off the land. That's what Rava said. Rav Ashi says, once you say, though, that if I eat $4,000, the extra $1,000, you cannot take it from me because it's only a vak ribis. Like me. Even if I ate $3,000, they also can't remove me. Why? Because below Zuzi, without paying off the loan, you have to literally pay off the loan. My time is sluki below Zuzi. If you're removing me from the land without actually paying me off the loan, whatever I ate on the crops is a vak ribis. You're just taking money from me. We learned before, even according to Blaser says that the ribis is reclaimable, not a vak ribis is not. So he says any amount that I ate. If I lent you money for 3 years for $3,000, I lent you $3,000 for 3 years, and you gave me your land, and I ate $4,000 worth. Not only is the extra $1,000 not reclaimable, but the $3,000 is done. It's all a vak ribis. Unless you actually pay me off the loan, whatever I ate doesn't count. Rav Ashi was machmir. He says, Rav Ashi have to be a somtanim, even by somtanim, kigdolim, even by little children, the same thing applied, that the loan was not considered to be paid off until they actually paid off. Amarava, Braid Rav Yosef Mishmei Rava. Hi Mashkanta, another lach, Basar Masalki, in a city like this, where you could pay me off on everyone. What's it called? Early repayment, right? You could pay me off whenever you want. Lo nechal mechaisa. You shouldn't eat the crops. Again, what should you do in a case like that? I lend you $3,000 and you're giving me the field, right? Is it proper for me to eat the crops and then get the $3,000 back later on? It's certainly like a vak ribis, right? But he says in a case like that, I, the lender, should not eat the crops unless I deduct. Like I say, you're lending me $3,000, okay. You give me the land. After 3 years, the loan is paid off. Okay, every year that I eat the land, we'll deduct $1,000. That's mechaisa. That's deducting. That's the proper thing to do. Okay, we said before that wasn't always the custom. People ate without deducting it because it's not really ribis d'oraisa. Again, different views. He says, you should only eat the crops unless you shouldn't eat the crops unless you're deducting a certain amount per year. The tzuv rabbanan and a scholar, a talmid chacham, afilu ben achaisa, you shouldn't even eat that way too. So how could you do it? If I'm a scholar and I lend you $3,000, you give me your field, what should I do? B'kitzusa, with a fixed time. So what do we mean by that? We're not sure what that means. Nachaisa also means I'll deduct $1,000 per year, and after 3 years, the loan's paid off. What does kitzusa? It means a fixed time. We'll see what that means. That's if you hold that kitzusa is okay. That's also also. Mike, what should you do? So what do you say there? What should a talmid chacham do? The itmar. We have this machlokas kitzutz. If I have a fixed time, one says it's allowed to do that. Again, when I take your field as a mashkan, I'm allowed to say a fixed time. Again, we don't know what that means yet. But one says it's also. What is kitzutza? The Omer said, listen, for the first 5 years, I'm going to eat it without any deduction. Without any deduction, that seems pretty bad, right? After 5 years, I'll account for every fruit that I eat. I'm going to deduct that from the amount of the loan. Now, this sounds very strange because for 5 years, I'm not going to deduct anything. And that's better than the chaisa. So the Mefarshim asks this kasha, and they say it's probably speaking in a city where you cannot pay it off early. So so again, when you can't pay it off early, it looks more and more like a sale, right? What's the idea over here? Why am I allowed to? What if I lend you money and you give me your field and I eat the payers? That seems like rebit, right? But if I say no, I'm going to deduct $1,000 per year, and after 3 years the loan is paid off, what is that? A lease. That's not rebit. Like Rashi says, looks like take a look at Rashi, the third line in Rashi from the top of the page. A fixed amount for each year. I give you a $3,000 loan for 3 years. I'll tell you what, I'm going to take your field as a collateral. I'll deduct for every year that I'm on the field, I'll deduct $1,000. Is that a good deal or not? Could be, could be not. Maybe your field won't produce anything, and I got nothing out of it, right? The near kamochel, it's like I'm selling to him. The yard suffix, I'm going down into the field. The suffix, the field tilaka, even if the field goes bad, is ruined. Below you, but there's no crops. You're not going to still have to deduct osa kisva for each year. When I therefore, if I get more out of it, it's not ribit. The dafka ba'asra misalki. Of a ba'asra lo misalki in a city where you can't remove kol yemei asman. When I sell it to you, Rashi says, when I sell it to you and in a city where the customers, you can't repay the loan early. I'm lending you money for 3 years and I get to keep the field for 3 years. Then even if I don't deduct anything per year, that's okay. Because it's like I bought the field for 3 years, right? Because you can't pay it off early. I lend you money for 3 years, $3,000, 3 years. You want to come back in the middle of the time and pay it off? No. It's my field. It's like a lease. Again, like you said, it's like a lease. If you can pay it off at any time, so then not so much a lease, because it's like it's really yours, right? It's if you could pay it off any time, the mashkin doesn't belong to me, the field, because you could pay it off tomorrow and get your field back. So it doesn't really belong to me. So the only way it's legitimate is if I deduct X amount per year, right? X amount per year. Okay. If it's a field though or the customer is where you can't pay it off early, then the field's mine for 3 years no matter what. It's like I leased it for 3 years. Now he says, even if you say that a Talmud Chacham shouldn't even do that, right? You could do it with kitzusa. What's kitzusa? For 5 years, don't do anything. I don't have to pay anything. After 5 years, I'll pay you for each fruit. But for 5 years, not doing anything, how does that work? Again, that's so the Farshim say it's speaking about a place where you can't pay it off early. So again, it's like I leased it from you. If it's a lease, then it's not rebit. Okay, that's one way. Back in the Gemara, some say if you don't deduct something per year, that's always forbidden. Because if you don't deduct something for a year, then it looks like I'm eating rebit. It doesn't look like a lease or a partial sale. Because what is kitzu? So the first 5 years I'll deduct X amount per year. Talking about obviously it's not a 3-year loan. Let's say it's a 10-year lease, $10,000. I lend you $10,000 for 10 years. The first 5 years I'll deduct $1,000 per year. Afterwards I'll pay for each and every fruit. That's better. So if you say the first one is no good because you didn't deduct anything for the first 5 years, shar basraisa. In the second example that we gave, where the first 5 years you did deduct X amount per year and afterwards you deduct for each fruit, then that's better because you're paying it off. So it's like a lease. Manda also basraisa, the one who forbids even the last case, how's it? How are you allowed to eat it? I lend you $10,000. You give me your field. How am I allowed to eat it? If anything I eat, you consider to be rebit, even though it's like a lease? No. It's mutter in a case like mashkanta that he did in the town of Surah. Because this is what they wrote. When the years are over, a 10-year lease, a 3 years, whatever it was, that's the only way it's mutter. Meaning that's a real lease. I'm leasing here's $3,000. It's a lease for 3 years, or $10,000. I'm a lease for 10 years. That's it. After 10 years, you get the field back, and that's it. We're not saying X amount per year. It's not paying. That case. It's a different case of nechaisa. I'm deducting something. But what he's saying is that even in a case where it's not ribis d'oraisa, right? Because there was no fixed amount. But I'm eating the crops on your field, right? That's a classic case. I give you I give you, the bank might have a case like that today. You mortgage your house to the bank, right? And the bank might say, okay, I'm taking the rent for the next few years or something like that. They're getting something out of it. Is that rebit? Well, you're paying the bank anyway, rebit, right? On top of that. But let's say you took a private mortgage or whatever, and you're not paying any interest. Private guy lent you money, but you gave him your house. You're giving your house as a mortgage, right? You can have your house, and he's renting it out and making money on it. Well, is that rebit? Is that rebit? Or is it a lease? He's leasing it from you. That's how you look at it. So the proper way to do it is to do a lease with nechaisa. That's what the Gemara said till now. Okay, where I'm deducting X amount, so then it's a lease. Again, how do you look at all these cases? It's a loan. If you look at it as a loan and rebit, that doesn't look so good, right? It's certainly only ribis d'rabbanan. It's not ribis d'oraisa, but ribis d'rabbanan is not recoverable. But Rav Nachman said that it's even recoverable if it looks more like a loan, because what does it look like? Does it look like a loan or does it look like a sale? If I lent you $3,000 and I said, okay, after 3 years the loan's paid off, so that's like a lease. Why is that a loan? It's a lease, right? And if it's a lease, whatever I eat, I eat. Whatever I rent I rent the place for more or less money. If it's a field or a house, or I ate the crops, more or less, whatever I get, that's it. Let's say I lease a house from you for 10 years, and I'm planning on renting it out, and then nobody wants to rent it. So I lost that money, right? But it's not, And if I rented it for a lot of money, you can't say that's rebit because it was a lease. Again, I took a mashkin from you, a mortgage your property as a collateral in a city, in a city where you could pay me off at any time. If you could pay me off at any time, then I don't really own that mashkin. Therefore, ein b'chov govei mena. Let's say, God forbid, I die, and you have the malva dies, and he had other creditors. The other creditors come and want to take that field, right? After all, was the mashkin his? The Torah says in the case of a movable mashkin, l'chati etztaka, if you give him back, why? Because it's really your mashkin belongs to you, right? The Gemara says from here you see a mashkin, but not in this case, because in this case you could pay off the loan at any time. You have a malva, the malva lent you money, right? And you gave him his karka meanwhile, but you could pay it off at any time. Now he died, or his creditor wants to come and take it. Now, if the field belonged to the mashkin, to the smalva who died, even if he could take it away from children because the field was meshubit, but he doesn't really own the field because you could pay it off at any time. So Rav Papa and Rav Huna ben Yeshua say that a mashkanta in a city where it could be paid off at any time, that you can move any time, ein bachov can't take it because it's like metaltlin. It's like metaltlin of yisom. Metaltlin yisom is not meshubit to the bachov. Let's say the guy dies. Would a bachor get a double share in it? No, because it's considered roy. He doesn't really own it. Ushvias mashamtusa, and shvias would cancel. It's like a movable loan. It's like movables, where or a regular loan of money, where shmita would cancel the loan. So again, in all these cases, this field, it's not like he owns it, and the loan that's outstanding it would be canceled by shmita, because see, if I lend you money and shmita comes along, but you gave me a mashkon, then it's like I collected it already. But this mashkon is not really like mine because the other guy, the lover, can pay it off at any time. The other way, but in a place where you can't pay it off at any time, in other words, I own it for 3 years or for 10 years, that field is mine, you can't pay me off early, then bachov govei mena, my creditor come and take it, because it's like mine. Bechor not b'shnayim. If I died, the bechor would get a double share. The ein shvius b'shamta, shvius would not cancel it. Why? Because shvius wouldn't cancel the loan, because since I have the mashkon, shmita doesn't cancel it. The mashkon is considered mine. So if I have it for a fixed period of time, you cannot pay it off early, then it's like it's mine. If you could pay it off early, it's not mine. In a city, I have a mashkon, right, on you. It's same case. I gave you $10,000. You gave me the field. And a city where you could pay it off at any time. Even let's say you have trees on the field, and they used to put out mats under the trees to collect the dates that fell down there. Even you can pay it when you pay it back. In other words, since you could pay off the loan, when you pay it off, the loan is canceled. I'm removed from the property. Even dates that fell on the mats, you can get those back too. They don't belong to the malva who had the mashko. The agbinu basisni, if the malva, or that would be me, I lent you the money. If I put them already in baskets, then kanina that I acquired them already. In other words, again, the crops that I eat are mine. Those crops that I eat are mine, because either way, whether it's you could push me off the loan, whether you could pay off the loan or not, it's only ribis drabanan. So if I collected it, if I took it already, it's in my rishus. It's not reclaimable by you. The one who holds kalem, if you hold that my kalem, if I'm the purchaser in the rishus of the mocher, and I walk into your store and I put your stuff in my kalem and I bought it, I was koned even even though it's rishus, but it's my kalem, my vessels acquired it. So I feel log ben of the I would count it anyway. In other words, since they fell on the mats are mine. I'm malva. If they fell on the mats, I get to keep them ready because they were in my kalem. But basically, you could pay off the loan at any time, and if they weren't on my mats, then you get the dates also back. Let's say it's a city where the normal custom is that you could pay it off early, right? You could pay it off early. So we said if you could pay it off early, then it's not considered, the mashka is not really considered mine. And we said that if I eat the fruits, I should deduct per year. Per annum, I should deduct something. So it's more like a lease. Okay. But let's say the guy says, I won't do it. All right. He says, it's at a city which normally you can pay it off. And he says, the lender says, no, I won't pay it off early. So he said he agreed to that. He agrees that he's not going to be able to pay it off early. He agreed to that. So that was the deal. He said, I'm not going to pay it off early, meaning it's a real lease. Let's say the city where you can't pay it off early. He says, I want to pay it off early. I want the ability. I know the custom is the standard case is that you can't pay it off early, but I want to be able to pay it off early. You have to make a proper kinyan to agree to a low. That was the agreement. Like an oral agreement is good enough. You have to make a proper kinyan. You have to make. In other words, if the custom is that you can't pay it off early, but this lova says, listen, I want the ability to pay it off early. Can you do that? He says you could do it, but you have to make a proper kinyan. Otherwise, it's not acceptable. Let's say it's a city where you could pay it off early. You could pay it off early. You don't have the money right now. You want to pay it off early. What happens? I lend you money, lend you $10,000 for 10 years. And you see me eating all those crops, and it's eating you up alive, seeing me eat up all those crops. So you say, okay, I'm going to pay it off. Don't eat anymore. I'm going to pay it off now. Amr Ezel Weiss, he says, listen, I have the money over there. I'm going to bring the money. Stop eating the crops. So if he's Ezel says, look, you shouldn't eat anymore because he says, I have the money. I'm going to bring it. Stop eating. You could do that. Ezel, let's say he says, listen, I don't have the money, but I'm going to get a job. I'm going to get a deal. I'll find the money somehow, but I don't really have it. Since you can still eat the crops because he doesn't have the money yet. He shouldn't eat it. He shouldn't eat it. If he says once he declares, again, in a city, Rashi explains, in a city that you could pay it off early, and the guy says, listen, I want to pay it. He didn't come up with the cash. Or he says, I have the money over there. Or he says, I don't even have the money. I'm going to get the money. You shouldn't eat it. You shouldn't eat the crops anymore. Rav Kana, Rav Papi, Rashi, loach nechaisa. They would not eat even with nechaisa. So even by deducting, they wouldn't eat from the payers because it was considered like revis. Rabina acham nechaisa. He ate by deducting. He even said before the shita was, Rabbi Yosef said that a Talmud Chacham shouldn't even eat with nechaisa, only with kitzutza, which is really like not even deducting per year, just knocking off the whole loan, a real lease. But he ate with nechaisa. So what's his reasoning? If you take your field, you're a sarachuza, your field that's your inherited field, and you're makdish that to the base of Mikdash, and when you want to get it back, you can redeem it not for its market value, but you pay a certain amount for each chomer saorim, for each chomer zera, chomer saorim, the amount that you plant of barley in a certain area, you have to pay off a seller per year until Shemitah, right? So he says, just like in Sarachuza, even though you ate even though you eat a lot of the fruits. In other words, Sarachuza, you might have the amount of crops on the field might be an awful lot. Still, Rahman Hashem said, Kaparak le'ba'arba zuze. You redeem it for 4 zuz, which is 1 seller per annum. That's it. One seller per year is all it takes. Hachanami loshna. It doesn't make any difference. Whatever, if you ate with the chaisa, we don't care. Well, isn't it rebit because you're eating more possibly than the loan, right? You're not deducting. Again, the loan was $10,000. You say, if you're on the field, I'll be on the field, I'll deduct $1,000 per year, but maybe you're getting $2,000 worth of crops per year. Yes, but just like by Sadachuza, the Torah said a fixed amount is all you have to pay off. Here too. Manda also, the one who says you shouldn't eat with the chaisa, you shouldn't like by deducting per year. Amelacha, Sadachuza hektishi. That's a special case. That's hektish. Hashem said, ukmei apidyon. Hashem established, Hashem said what the amount to redeem it is. This is different. It's a loan. Oh, Mexican ribs, it looks like ribit. Again, all these cases are not ribis raisa, but it looks like ribit. Rav Nachman said that even in a case of a smachta, where he said asmachta lo tanya, he says not only, right, now it's not ribis raisa, right? The standard case in the Mishnah. I'm lending you money, $3,000, and you say, if you don't pay, and we agree, if you don't pay me back within 3 years, I get to keep the field. Not only don't I get to keep the field, because Allah is that asmachta lo tanya, but I even have to return the crops. I have to return the crops too. Well, Rav Nachman is very machmer. He says it looks like rebit. It doesn't look like a sale. In case like a sale, okay, we're more makel, but this looks like this is a loan. In case of a loan, it looks like rebit. And even though rebit is what? Is not return of ribis rabbanan, is not reclaimable. Like Rav Loza said, only ribis rice, ribis tusa, this is not reclaimable. Rav Nachman was machmer and said this has to be returned too. So when it looks like rebit, it looks like rebit. It has a strong look like it. He says it's reclaimable too, and you can return it. And that's what we say over here too. So how should you do it? You borrow money and you pay back by nechaisa, which looks like a lease. Right? I'm going to deduct X amount per year. The best way to do it is, like we said, kitzusa, to say, look, I'm lending you $10,000. After 10 years, it's all wiped off. So it looks like a lease. When it looks like a lease, then doesn't look like rebit at all. Nechaisa, some do, some don't. But kitzusa, everybody says that looks good. All right, we'll pick up here tomorrow. Have a good day.
Mazel tov again. Mazel tov.
Thank you. Thank you.